You hear that? What's that? Whole lot of talk. Can't back it up.
Welcome back to my channel. I know I haven't been posting for a while. I'm really busy in these days. I'm working full-time. But anyways, this video is gonna be about new gym glute tips, you can say. I'm gonna be recording a glute and leg session today, and while I'm getting ready, I'm gonna explain to you the tips, and I'm gonna be tracking my progress and see how it goes. I have been noticing really good results so far. My whole goal was to grow glutes and still have like a small waist, and I did achieve that. However, my goal now is to still obviously work on my glutes, but I need my glutes to be sculpted, shaped, rather than size, if that makes sense. My body shape is more, it's like I'm not tall, like my torso is kind of short, if you know what I mean. So having a thick lower body is not really my goal or focus in a way. I noticed the main thing that I need in my body is to get an overall sculpted body, and when it comes to my glutes, it's more of a shape than growth, if that makes sense. I'm not focusing more on growth now other than shaping and sculpting. And when it comes to my legs, the same thing, more of toning rather than growing. That has always been my thumb of rule. Like, I've never wanted to grow my legs. I am naturally curvy or like thick when it comes to my thighs. I'm so quad dominant, you don't even know that any exercise that I do, I feel it in my legs, and that's not the focus that I'm going for. So I'm going to be explaining the rest times, the weights that I use, and the method. I'm going to show you my body right now just for reference. This is my body here. As you can see, I've always been lean, like small waist, but my thighs are thick. And this is the booty right here. So as you can see, I naturally have thick lower body in general. I'm not focusing to grow that more, so the whole workout method is gonna change. I love how my body is right now, so I'm more like, I want to maintain. I don't want to be growing any more muscle. I want to maintain and like have that, you know, sexy, slim, thick look when it comes to my body. If you want to grow your booty, let's say you are, I'm going to be explaining this so you understand how it works. If you're trying to grow muscle, like you are underweight and you want to grow your booty in general, you want to grow legs and all that, you have to follow a specific method when it comes to working out. So you have to lift heavy, progressive overload, obviously. You have to eat on a caloric surplus. People who want to lose weight and tone at the same time, they need to be on like caloric deficit and also weight train and progressive overload and all that stuff. Now for my goal, I went through all these phases, by the way, all of them. I was skinny, and then I gained some weight, and then I had to go on a caloric deficit again to reduce the fat, and now I'm in a stage where I love where my body is, so I want to maintain. I just want to more like tone, sculpt, and get in shape and not grow any more size. I'm really happy right now. So I keep repeating myself. So my workout routine is 4 days right now. 2 lower body days, which is glute days, and the other 2 is cardio, core, and upper body. I do only 1 upper body Pilates session a week, and core and cardio, I do them like twice a week. When it comes to my glute sessions, before I used to train really heavy, even for hip thrusts. I used to like progressive overload every time. That is not a wrong method to follow or wrong way to exercise if you want to get thicker and build more muscle. The weights that I use right now is kind of moderate, light to moderate, not that heavy anymore, even for my hip thrust, by the way. So, and I noticed that when I started to lower the weight in my exercises, especially for my like glute focused exercise, I've been noticing more glute pump in general. Like my booty is literally more shaped and out rather than just size. I don't know how to explain this to you, but when you lift heavy and your goal is to also reduce body fat, the optimal method here is not to lift heavy weight, is to lift moderate weight and have clean diet. That way your body recompositioning everything, okay? And at the same time you're building lean muscle and burning fat at the same time. I have a specific, type that I'm trying to reach here. Like I need to reduce some more fat. I need to build more lean muscle in terms of like shaping, not actual size. I am lifting weights, but to the point where I'm challenging myself, but not to the point of like I'm out of breath and I'm dying. Do not go to actual failure. That's the thing right here, where everybody is telling you have to go to failure, and like when you are out of breath, that's like that, there's nothing wrong about that. But what I am focusing here right now is to maintain an actual just sculpting and toning. So I'm just focusing on the burn, on the exercise itself, more of a resistant training than actual weightlifting in general. I did read more about this, and I've seen a lot of people on TikTok mentioning this, especially for people who are like struggling with stubborn fat, let's say like their thighs in general. If you're lifting heavy in that area, it's gonna be really hard for you to see the results that you want. You might be able to reach the results still, but it's gonna take you really long to reach there, and you might be kind of dismotivated, So yeah, no more heavy weight. I go moderate weight for my glute focused exercises and light weight for the leg exercises. Today's workout session is about leg and glutes together, so you will see exactly how I go with my workouts and what is the right method to use, even the weights and all that stuff. And I do incorporate bands, by the way, to some of my workouts because it does put the focus more on my glutes instead of my quads. That's an amazing tip for the quad dominant girlies out there. I noticed it gives me more of the pump, more of the burn that I need to feel in my glutes, rather than just lifting heavy weights, unnecessary weight, and I feel at the end of my legs, and it didn't give me the results that I really need. So everybody is different. I know some people might actually not agree with the method that I'm going with. Look through Brett Contreras' videos. He's such an amazing glute focused guy who knows everything about the glute anatomy, and he did explain exactly how to like build the actual glute and sculpt it without growing the legs at the same time, and you can achieve it. You can actually achieve it, and I've been noticing it. I've been doing this for like a month, and I'm already seeing difference without bulking unnecessary, muscle on the parts of my body that I don't need. The second glute day is usually just glute isolation. So I do not really incorporate any leg workouts on that day. It specifically focuses on the glute parts and nothing for the legs basically. And let me tell you, it's such an amazing transformation, an amazing tip. I wish I've been incorporating this for a long time. You do know if you want to actually build the whole glute and the legs, you have to incorporate one hip thrust movement, one squat movement, one RDL movement, and then one isolation movement for your leg session. I do that for my first leg day, which includes the leg and the glute day. For my second day, I just do completely glute focused and isolation workouts. Think of glute bridges, calf bridges, single leg RDLs, single leg hip thrusts, hip abductions, kickbacks. So these type of exercises I'll be doing on that day. The other thing is I added another cardio session throughout the week, and it's just low intensity walking. I'm trying to I'm like trying my best to achieve at least 10,000 steps a day, because it does really help with, you know, toning your body. So yeah, I'm doing that cardio session with core workout. I do a 30 minutes low intensity walking usually, and after that I do like a core workout circuit. Then the fourth day is also a low intensity 30 minutes cardio, and then after that I do the upper body circuit, Pilates, and core as well. I post a lot about these on my channel. You can go check them out. It's fun, it's not hectic on my body, it's not stressful, and I do lift weights still, but not as heavy anymore, and my body feels way more energetic. I don't feel hungry all the time. By the way, this is one of the reasons why I stopped, because when you lift heavy and you push yourself too much, I will be getting hungrier. When I get hungrier, that's gonna lead to more body fat in general. So yeah, the next step is the rest periods. Now, speaking of the right method here, when it comes to compound movements, let's say RDLs, hip thrusts, all that stuff, usually you should take like a 2-minute break to 3-minute break when you're lifting heavy workouts, like heavy weight with compound movements. You take 1-minute break for isolation movements, usually with the moderate to lightweight. Yeah, that is usually how people train nowadays. When you want to grow the muscle and you lift heavy weight, they usually take 2 to 3 minutes. But now when it comes to my routine and the new gym, like new method that I'm trying to do here, I'm lifting literally just a light to moderate weights. So my focus is to sculpt, to tone, and to build lean muscle rather than actual increasing the size again. So the focus here is the rest period for hip thrust. For RDLs, I usually take 1 minute to 130 seconds, so like 60 seconds to 90 seconds max. I used to take 1 full minute for even hip thrusts and RDLs, but that still requires more rest period for the for your body to actually perform at its best on the next set. So I just give my muscle maximum amount of 90 seconds of rest in between sets to do my glute workout. That's for the compound movement. Isolation workouts, I just take even 40 seconds to 60 seconds max. It works out one muscle part, you know, and it doesn't really exhaust your body as much, so you don't really need as much rest. So yeah, that's basically when it comes to the rest periods and what I tweaked about it. It's not that significant, but it did make a big difference. When it comes to progressive overload, I'm not focusing more on increasing the weight anymore. As I told you, I'm focusing more on my form and the burn. So the way that I progressive overload is with the tempo, the reps that I do. So I either increase the reps, and I do increase the weight eventually, but I have to make sure I'm feeling it in my glutes. I'm not just adding unnecessary weight, if you know what I mean. Because I know you've been there. When you do hip thrusts with heavy weights, most of the time, if it's heavy weight, you're not able to feel the burn. You're just pushing the weight. So basically the weight is controlling you, not you controlling the weight. I always ask myself, if I'm doing the workout and I'm controlling the weight and I'm feeling the mind muscle connection and the burn, then the weight is perfect. As for the progressive overload, I focus more on the reps, the tempo of the workout, and then I start adding the weight. When I feel like I locked out like everything and the weight is feeling, the exercise is basically really easy to do with, then I start adding like weight and go from there. Now the next step here, I started to do the you're gonna be feeling the workout so much when you start to include this step. It's called a 3-1-1 rule. 3-1-2 rule or 3-1 one row. So what this explains is it's about the concentric and the eccentric movement of the exercise. When you go down, let's say take the hip thrust for example. When you go down with your hip thrust, this is the eccentric part of movement. So here's like the most important part that you have to focus on. You're gonna be taking 3 seconds to go down with your hip thrust, then 1 second instantly you go up, and then you pause for either 1 second to 2 seconds, and then you repeat. So eccentric part, when you go down you take 3 seconds. Concentric part is when you go up. Basically the muscle is contracting, so you instantly go up. It's like a really fast movement, if that makes sense. And then when you hold at the top, you just hold for either 1 to 2 seconds, and then you repeat. Incorporate this to your exercises and your glute session workouts. The burn you're gonna be feeling, oh my god, trust me, you're gonna have to lower the weight a bit, because when I started to incorporate this tip, I couldn't do it with heavy weights. I really couldn't. Like my body couldn't handle it, and my form was shit basically. So you're welcome. Do that with moderate weight, and your booty will literally thank you. Every time I finish my hip thrust sets, my hip thrust workout or any glute workout, my glutes are literally on fire. I'm not really lifting heavy weights, you know, it's just moderate weights, but the burn that I get is insane. Rep range and all that stuff. Strength training, basically, like bodybuilders. I've been hearing a lot of people like doing this method to grow their glutes, but honestly I don't know how that goes. Everybody's different. Again, it might work out for them because they're not as quad dominant, but for quad dominant people like me here, rep range anywhere from 10 to 12 is the best, but anywhere from, let's say, 5 to 8, that's basically a bit too heavy. That's how I know what type of like weight I should be using. If I'm going anywhere from 10 to 12 reps, like by the 12th rep I'm actually feeling the burn, that's how I know that I'm doing it correctly with moderate weight, not really heavy. Before, what I used to do is by the 10th rep, like 10th rep, I used to that's it, I used to finish with it, and I used to be on the floor dead already. But by the end of the workout session, when I used to follow that, I used to be really tired, really more hungry, and my quads and legs were growing so much more than some freaking reason. And I'm like, what's the point? Like I didn't understand it back then, but now I get why. It's because the weight was controlling me and I wasn't really focusing, like the mind muscle connection when it comes to the exercise. I used to add weight, lift heavy, and it used to focus more on my legs rather than my, you know, glutes. Now I'm lifting not really heavy, like moderate, and I'm hitting the 10 to 12 range, and I'm feeling the burn. Like my glutes are literally pumped by the end of the exercise, and my glutes, in fact, they're getting more like in shape, and you know, that shape that we want instead of like just size. That's what I'm achieving right here. As for the compound movements, so the compound I usually go anywhere from 10 to 12. For isolation, I hit anywhere from 12 to 15, like the kickbacks, the hip abduction, usually that range, the 12 to 15 is really good. Now after, let's say, that's the progressive overload that I usually do. When I hit the 12 and a month passed by, let's say, and I'm doing hip thrust more than 12 rep, now I start to add a bit more weight, adding a small amount of weight, so like 5 pounds, and I go from there. But then when I start to feel like I'm not getting the burn, exactly the burn that I need from the exercise, I change up the form. So let's say I'm still doing hip thrust, but instead of doing actual hip thrust, I will do, let's say, beast stance hip thrust, and I do the weight on there. And I do it for a month, and then after a month and change the variation, I do cast bridges, where I do barbell glute bridges on the floor or I add bands. There are so many ways you can progressive overload or actually do an exercise without adding unnecessary weight. But that again, if I do this, if I'm unable to add more and more weight, because again, my focus here is not to lift heavy at all for my body. It doesn't work for me like I thought it would. So listen to my body basically and adjust from there and see how it goes. Do not change my workouts for at least a month. So if I have a specific glute session, I will stay on that for at least a month before I actually change the workout or the variation. And most of the time it's usually the same workouts but different variations. So I will just change the hip thrust variation, the RDLs variation, but it's basically kind of the same format, if that makes sense. That's why you will see most of the time the recent workout videos right now, I do the same workout but I will tweak the variations for a bit. So that's what I usually do. Now when it comes to the number of sets of the exercise, that also changed. I do one specific warm-up set for every exercise before I start with my actual set. That like changed the whole game for me because I'm able to assess if the weight is good, if I should add more weight, if I have to stay with the weight. I always start with a warm-up set, and then the actual set is going to be actual 3 sets, so basically 4 sets in total. But the first set is not going to be usually like counted as an actual set, just to warm up your body, warm up everything before you go ahead and do the actual set with the eccentric, the concentric movements. What I usually do before, I never really like added a warm-up set. I usually just went ahead with my exercise, and that's not really a good method to do so. Even if you warmed up your body, you cannot just go ahead straight to lift with your actual set. You have to warm up the body part and then go from there. It's gonna help so much with the mind muscle connection, with your glute burn properly. You're not gonna be feeling it much in your legs if you struggle with quad dominant. That's why it's really important to start with the warm-up set first. Now next is recovery, actual day off periods. When I do my leg session and leg day session, I always, next glute workout session should be at least 48 hours after. So I work out on Monday, that's like my very first day of glute and leg session. Tuesday, I usually take it off. Wednesday, I do cardio and upper body Pilates with core. And then Thursday, I do the glute isolation workout. And then Friday off because I need to recover, my glutes for them to rest properly. And then Saturday or Sunday, I go for a walk, like a low intensity cardio and core workout. You see, I give my glutes enough time to recover and rest before I go ahead to train anything in my body, basically. Even cardio, even if it was low intensity, I usually do not do it after a really good glute workout session. I give that like a rest. I give my body a rest to actually recover, because if you're not recovering well, you're not gonna see any results. You're gonna be stressed all the time, you're gonna be tired, hungry, so that's how you won't be able to see results as much. So recovery and rest is really important. Next tip is my diet. So now I'm on a maintenance calories with I'm focusing also on protein and carbs. I used to be really scared of food before. Now I have more of a loving relationship, a better relationship with food. And since I'm not lifting heavy anymore, it's more moderate weight and walking low intensity, it's not gonna bulk me up like before. Like even if I ate high quality food, I also, of course, I watch my calories, but I'm not gonna be seeing that bulk as much because I'm not lifting as heavy. It's not gonna be showing in my muscles. What is gonna be happening instead, because mind you, it's only been like 1 month and my body completely transformed from how it was. Less bloated and more energy. I'm not tired anymore. My maintenance is anywhere like 1,900 calories to 2,000, and I make sure that I hit my protein goal, which is around 135. 1 gram of protein equal to 1 pound of body weight. So I try to reach at least 100 grams of protein, max 130. I do not go more than that. So I focus on healthy carbs. I do not prevent myself from the food that I love. I add healthy fats, and I focus on the protein amount that my body needs. I do not go way above it and not less than it requires. So aim from 100 to 130 grams of protein is basically perfect. And I count my calories weekly. So if I'm eating 1,900 calories basically to maintain, I can play around it depending on the workout schedule that I have for the day. So I eat more on the days that I have my glute session. So I eat around like a 2,000 calorie on my glute day, around 1,800 calories for my rest days or my low intensity cardio days. And mind you, my full-time work is usually just office work, so I do not move. That's why I cannot be eating or overeating a lot, because I do not move a lot to begin with. So I have to be mindful, you know. But the right way to actually calculate and be on track is weekly, not every day. So what I do, I just try to eat less on the days that I do nothing, like just work and or do any lightweight cardio, and I eat more and I focus more on the like days that I actually work out, you know, my glutes, and I exert my muscles. So this is a really amazing tip that it helped me a lot. That way I still eat and I enjoy my food, and I do not overeat, and I do not prevent myself from eating my favorite foods at the same time. Because when it comes to my like low hectic or rest days, on that day I do not feel as hungry because I didn't do anything, like I didn't exert my body or worked it out as much. So I just keep that day specifically for recovery, stretches, and I do not overeat as much. I just keep the, you know, heavy meals, the foods that I love, more for the glute and leg days specifically. I'll be recording my leg and glute session today. Stay tuned for the other workout videos I'll be posting, I promise. I will try my best to be, you know, on track. Starting from today's video is gonna be my updated workout routine. So without further ado, let's go ahead with my glute and leg session workout. So this is my very first workout. I always start with any form of hip thrust, and as you can see, this is my second set, so it's my actual set. I did my warm-up set already of 45 each, and I added 20 on each side, and this is considered like a moderate weight. I used to put 2 plates before. Now this is the calf bridges variation. I will not be going all the way down like hip thrust, because this is gonna focus mainly on the glutes rather than the legs in general. Notice how I am using the 3-1-1 rule as well. So we're gonna count it together. You're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 1 up, pause 1 second. So I always aim any reps between 10 to 12. That's the best rep range to build that booty and to feel the burn. Again, when the burn starts to happen anywhere from 10 to 12, then this is the perfect moderate weight for me. Also, don't forget to keep your chin always tucked in, look forward, and always put the weights on your heels, so you're gonna be pushing with your heels when you go up. Next is an RDL variation, so it's a hip hinge movement. And yes, almost all my RDL exercises, by the way, I add bands to them, because trust me when I tell you this, the whole tension and the focus goes straight to my glutes. Quad dominant people, trust me, just do this method and this tip and you're gonna thank me later. This specific variation gives me full control and gives me the best mind muscle connection. Some tips here is to focus on the hips, so think of it as standing hip thrust. Bend your knees a bit when you go down, and when you go up, keep your back leaned forward. When you overextend your back like backwards, you're gonna remove all the tension that you created in your glutes. I try my best to keep up the 3-1-1 rule for this exercise, because oh my god, I was dead by the end of the exercise. Now my favorite step up variation I use a low weight here, so 10 pounds per leg, and you're gonna hold the weight at the opposite side of your working leg. You see how I put the weight on my heels for the working leg when I push like downwards? That is the best tip you can ever do to feel the burn in your glutes. Also, if you don't want to engage your quads as much, you have to get like a low step. I use this and I pull like around 5 levels instead of using a high step, because when you use a high step, you're engaging your whole leg way more than your glutes. This variation will also work out the legs, but it's gonna put the focus mainly on the glutes as well. One tip I can give here is when you go down, do not push with momentum. The leg should only lightly tap the floor, and when you go up, keep your back leaned forward. Again, do not keep your back straight because it's gonna put all that tension on your legs instead of your glutes. My quads and legs get worked out really fast. At the end of the day, I do not neglect my legs. I still work them out. I just make sure to not lift heavy on that area and try to find ways and variations to keep the focus on the glutes. Now, my last exercise is always an isolation movement. I've been liking this variation of hip abductions like nothing else because I'm focusing on the top shelf and the gluteus minimus as well, and this is the only variation that actually activates and targets that area. I feel like it's such a stubborn area to grow, but once I added these to my workout routines, I've seen such a big difference. If you're new to this workout, you're gonna feel a bit off or weird to do the exercise, but once you get used to it, you will start to feel the burn in your side glutes. Also, start low with the weight so that you can have full, control and mind-muscle connection. Do not go heavy with isolation workouts. Just try to hit the goal anywhere from 12 to 15 reps. The burn should start to happen by that rep range.